Day. It is President's Day, at least when we're recording this. Now, Derek, because this is a podcast that goes weekly and we're just recording it on President's Day, do I do my normal President's Day facts, or do we pretend it's not really President's Day?
Well, I was going to lead with the fact that I'm back.
Yeah,
So I thought we were going to lead. I thought I was going to be the lead topic today. Well, I didn't do the show last week. You may remember that Nick Yeoman
that's right, yeah.
sat in for me. Yeah.
That's right.
So I haven't been here. I'm doing well, by the way. My trip was great. You didn't ask me
Where
any
did
of
you
that.
go?
You've been here for an hour.
You went
and
on
you
a
haven't asked
rodeo,
me one thing.
rodeo camp, right, out in Montana?
The hell are you talking about?
You got the shirt and everything. Did you bring that back
The
as a
shirt. This
souvenir?
is just a nice shirt. This is not a rodeo shirt. I have a meeting later tonight that I have to attend.
You're wearing a flannel shirt to your meeting?
To my meeting,
Is it with other rodeo clowns?
What is this rodeo clown thing? What are you talking about?
You went to the rodeo camp.
Yeah, well, the entire upper layer of my
face
is peeling off. Yeah, as we speak right now.
Did you do a lot of riding up in the mountains without the proper sun lotion? Or
okay,
hat?
I don't know what you're talking about. We went to Rosemary Beach in Florida, so just west of Panama City, and east of Destin. Trying to make sure I have that right geographically. 30A, have you heard about that? Like that road that goes through there? It's off of 30A.
Now, how was the weather?
Wednesday, when I got cooked, was Ashley got really bad cooked. Was mid-70s. But the rest of the week was basically mid to upper 60s. So it was on the cool side, but it was great to not be in Indiana.
Did you not wear SPF?
No.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Not a good.
Well, I was supposed to have, just so you know.
Generally, my skin bronzes. I don't usually have to worry about getting. I have beautiful skin, so I generally don't have to worry about that. But it was a little bit of a shock to the system, I think, because I've been indoors for 3 months.
You usually bronze?
Yes, my skin turns a very appealing bronze color. Usually,
it's right here.
No, see, that's fake. I go au natural.
It's bronze, right?
Kind of like my chest hair. The same thing. That's how I operate.
Speaking of bronze, it is not gold, but Michigan is, and they're in hot water, right, with Juwan Howard?
Yeah, I was trying to think of when I was prepping for the show last night. We're taping this right now on Monday. I was trying to think of what direction we wanted to go in.
What episode are we on?
Lead-wise. This is episode 74.
Anthony Costanzo?
Sure, I put Bruce Matthews.
Okay.
One of the greatest to ever do it. But sure, we can do Costanzo. He's a buddy of ours and the whole deal. I think we could kind of go with a number of topics for the lead topic with the Juwan Howard, Michigan, Wisconsin brouhaha
Problem
being one of those options.
Something may happen with that in between when we're taping this and when.
Yeah, but then again, my other lead topic was Indiana on the brink, and they've got a game. Actually, while you're watching this, thank you for watching this, by the way. Indiana is playing in Columbus.
Don't switch over to that game until after you're
That game is happening right now while you're watching this.
Or, now let me ask you this, Derek. If somebody watches a little of this, pauses, leaves, comes back, starts it back up, pauses, leaves. If they do that several times, do we get credit for like 4 views?
I don't know how that all works. Or if I'm scrolling through Twitter, is that a view? Like technically?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. If I even hesitate for 1 second, that counts as a view?
I think.
Okay.
I think. Because I've seen people pull that scam.
People pull a lot of
60,000 people viewed. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, let's talk about that because I think it brings up the conversation that has been ongoing about handshake lines. Because in the 21st century, some people were saying,
when did the handshake line begin?
I don't know.
In college basketball.
I don't know. I know that the anthem began in baseball games after World War I, right? Isn't that the timeline?
That's probably right.
Okay. I thought I had heard that. Don't quote me on that. I thought I had heard that after World War I, as a form of patriotism, they decided to start playing the anthem before baseball games.
I've heard people say, like, they need to get rid of the handshake line, and I'm like, I mean, I agree. Maybe they seem a little silly, but for 99.9% of participants, it's not an issue.
Can't grown adults just act like grown adults?
I thought, okay, look, here's the bottom line, okay? There are a couple of things in play here. I think Greg Gard was more guilty than he is being blamed because I think he kind of aggressive. I thought he seemed kind of smug.
He could have let it go. He could have just let Howard walk by. Yeah.
Juwan Howard, I know, giving the whole, like, I'm a grown man, you don't touch me. I've seen the videos of their other interactions, and it's not uncommon that they would, you grab somebody by the arm when you're talking to them or whatever.
Especially because it's loud a lot of the times.
I thought Howard was pretty aggressive in touching Gard. I mean, I think both were, in terms of what precipitated the event, I thought both Greg Gard and Juwan Howard were to blame. I think there was a little bit of guilt both ways. Howard might have been, it is true, guard touched him. I think Howard might have been a little overly aggressive in his approach that took guard off guard, pardon the pun. But, Derek, to me, what is troubling about this incident is I think that it will reflect, and I think in time what we will see is that this will become another example of a microcosm of where we are as a society, and that people just can't look at it and say, here are two coaches after a tough loss, and one was upset and one wasn't, and one lost his temper. I have already seen numerous innuendos of race baiting with it, not by African Americans, but Juwan Howard was a wonderful player for the Fab Five. The Fab Five is exactly my class, 1991. I'm the exact same age, same grade as Juwan Howard, Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Ray Jackson, Jimmy King. As we know, and much has been made of it, the Fab Five represented a movement in basketball to like player power, and wearing the black shorts and the baggy shorts and the black socks, and they were kind of in control, and they changed a lot culturally. And I don't just mean that from like a hip hop standpoint, but they just changed the power structure of young people in basketball. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying even to a bad way. Juwan Howard is known for being a member of the Fab Five. Was he a Washington Wizard? Sure. Was he a Miami Heat player? Sure. Was he an assistant for the Heat? Sure. Juwan Howard's main thing is if you stop 100 people on the street, Juwan Howard, they go, oh, the Fab Five, yeah. Right? Wisconsin is Bo Ryan and Dick Bennett and half-court, slow-down, Hickory Husker basketball. It's five. And I know that they have
white dudes punching guys in the groin.
I mean, honestly,
that's Wisconsin's brand.
It is half court, but I mean, it is half court, slow down, oftentimes white basketball. I hate to say that, but that's the perception. Now they have great players, obviously, that are not white, but that's the perception. And so to a lot of people, this Juwan Howard versus Greg Gard thing is going to be viewed through the spectrum or through the prism, and you can accuse me of facilitating this by talking about it. But I think it is absolutely without doubt something that there are certain people that are going to choose to view this through the prism of a race standpoint for the reasons and these stereotypes and the preconceived notions I just discussed. I've already seen people say, I saw one idiot that said, we need more coaches like Bobby Knight and fewer like Juwan Howard. What are Bobby Knight and Juwan Howard from a coaching standpoint, other than, Juwan Howard's very young and it's just only his second year? What's the only difference you can think of between the two of them? I mean, if you're saying that Juwan Howard has a problem with anger management, the only difference I can see between Juwan Howard and Bobby Knight in terms of their approach with their anger management is that one's black and one's white. This, I have a feeling, is going to be, I hope I'm wrong, but I worry that this is going to become another of a cultural, like almost a made-up cultural war, when in reality, I think it's one coach that was PO'd because of something that I don't think he had a right to be PO'd about, but he was, and his team got beat, and they're having a bad year, and he was frustrated, and it got the best of him, and he lost his cool, and he should probably be suspended for a game or two and slapped on the wrist, and everybody moves on. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the race aspect of it and the culture war aspect of it. Isn't everything in 2022?
That's my point. Yeah.
There is a certain group of people that are always going to make everything about that.
Correct.
So, yes, of course. I mean, I agree with you that there is an element of this of a black coach gets angry, lashes out at white coach, a white assistant, I guess, in this case, if you don't want to include guard. So, yeah, of course there is that segment of people that are going to make it about that.
To be fair, the assistant from Wisconsin that got punched that came running in was acting like a D-bag, right?
Well, that's Wisconsin's. I mean, you talk about Wisconsin's brand. That's their MO. I hate Wisconsin. I can't stand them because that's kind of who, Davison, and they've had a long line of guys like that are like these, John Stockton type, when the ref's not looking, I'm going to bite you on the calf. Like that type, not literally, but those type of basketball players. And some people gravitate towards that because, look, Wisconsin's had a lot of success this century, that hard-nosed kind of old-school style, like you say, but they're also physical, and at times they're dirty. And I'm not saying that they were dirty in the handshake line, but I agree with you that both sides are at fault. It's a volatile situation. At the end of the day, you have to keep your hands to yourself.
What do you think the penalty is going to be for Juwan Howard?
A light suspension. Like this talk of firing him, I mean, to me, that's crazy.
I would
you would have to do something beyond the pale to me.
I would say
no. Look,
2 games.
If Howard took a swing at a Wisconsin athlete, I think that
Derek,
is a different conversation.
Let me tell you
than
the one thing.
A coach.
Above all else, let me tell you the one thing that would be troublesome to me if I was a Michigan administrator. Your job as a basketball coach or professor or whatever it might be, you are a mentor to younger people who you have been hired to counsel and guide in certain areas of how to behave and conduct yourself. As soon as Juwan Howard threw that punch, it was Katie bar the door, and now you've got Michigan players, boom, and they're throwing down.
It's gasoline on the fire, really.
It is his job to know better than that.
He was the most wrong, in my opinion. But there were multiple people
I would agree
that
with that
were wrong, and people want to paint this as one person is at fault, and it's not one person. Just like Howard can't be absolved from blame because guard touched him first.
Right.
You can't take a swing, a slap, whatever it is. I mean, Jake, can you imagine how upset you would have to be about something to take a swing at another grown man? Like, it would have to be something to do with Shannon or your mom, right?
Right.
It's a regular season basketball game. You're down 15. It's a timeout. At the end of the day, is that worth taking a swing at somebody over?
I hear you.
You know, regardless
well,
of
not
how
to
angry
mention
you get.
Michigan was pressing. Michigan took it. Let me ask you this. Michigan played Ohio State 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They were down 15 with 35 seconds to go. Juwan Howard took a timeout.
Yeah.
Game was in hand. He took a timeout.
But it's always hypocritical situations like this because coaches do the wrong thing or make the wrong decision or run it up or then don't like getting it run up, like the whole thing.
You know what's the right decision? The right decision, if you are thinking about getting a new home, is going with Bailey & Wood, who we should have mentioned is the proud presenting sponsor.
Yeah, they've even got their logo
Schultz.
up there. Oh, look,
Bailey
there's
&
the
Wood
full logo.
Mortgage Lender. BAWFG.com is their website. Bailey & Wood is located right here in Indiana. And Derek, as you'd mentioned, if you're, the mortgage rates right now, the time is Bailey & Wood's going to help you out.
They're going up.
I know.
So if you're going to buy, you better get on that right now. And 13 Indiana branch locations, 5-star customer service, BAWFG.com for Bailey & Wood Financial Group. They're also opening up a branch in Florida, and they have the best colors that there are, orange and blue.
The best colors there are?
Knicks colors.
Broncos?
Orange and blue. Nope.
Illinois?
New York Knicks colors. New York Knickerbockers.
Terhune?
What?
And Hoosiers. Wasn't Terhune blue and orange?
I don't remember what the colors were of
I think
Terhune.
they were.
I went to try to find Terhune one time.
Yeah, I did too.
I'm trying to remember
I know exactly where it is.
What road is that where it has a sign that says Terhune this way, and I drove to try to find it.
And there's literally like 5 houses.
Oh, really? Okay, I must have blown right through it.
In the movie Hoosiers, where he pulls into Terhune and he gets out, the guys are shooting on the side of the barn. I tried to find where that intersection is, and there's nothing there left. It's in Boone County, just north, a little bit northwest of Zionsville.
Okay. Because I literally did that one time. Because, I did that when I first saw Gnawbone. I was like, I got to find where Gnawbone is. And you drive up on something, and there are signs that say Gnawbone. And you know that you're in Gnawbone, where I didn't see anything for Terhune.
Camp Gnawbone. It's big when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Blue hooded sweater.
I still have not had a pork tenderloin. Isn't Gnawbone rumored to be the birthplace of the tenderloin? I thought that's right.
Speaking of,
I'm throwing out a ton of World War I and national anthem
speaking
stuff.
Speaking of Gnawbones and food like tenderloins, have you heard about Hank the Tank?
No, I've not.
Hank the Tank is a 100-pound black bear in California.
He's only 100 pounds?
Oh, I'm sorry, 500 pounds.
Okay, yeah.
500-pound black bear in California. It's been on the loose since July. He's breaking into houses and stealing crap.
Oh, boy.
Pizzas, food. He's a good-looking fella. They've got, Ring cameras and stuff of him, but they can't catch him.
No.
Sneaky.
He's sneaky. I went to Yosemite as a kid, and they said, do not leave food or do not leave any garbage out at all because the bears will come for it. So we didn't leave any garbage out.
Bears are awesome.
Yeah.
Do you like bears?
Yeah, bears are cool.
They are.
They're super ferocious.
You think so?
I think so.
Brown bears and black bears.
I know so.
Between brown bears and black bears, one of them's real mean, and the other one they'll play with you and stuff. Right? No,
dude, you do not want to play with a bear.
No, you one of them you can have as like a pet.
Like even a panda. A panda will rip your arms right out of the sockets.
Panda's not a bear. Common misperception.
What is it? A fish?
Huh?
Of course, it's a bear.
No, a panda's not a bear.
Panda bear.
No, it's a panda.
Yeah, it's a panda bear.
It's not a bear.
It's part of the bear genus.
I don't think so.
family
No, it's
or
just a
whatever
panda.
species.
It's just a panda.
Yeah,
Different.
panda bear.
Koala's not a bear.
Koala is 100%
No,
absolutely a bear.
Look
Yes,
it
it
up.
is.
Not a bear. Marsupial, not a bear.
Yeah, it's a bear. It's
No,
part of
not
the
a bear.
bear family.
I don't think
Part
so.
of the overall bear family. Yeah,
Okay,
it is.
I'm just
Yep.
telling you.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
Kind of like Matt Eberflus.
It's actually a good thing that I use playing right now because we should probably limit the viewership on this episode.
But if you leave to go watch the game, come back and click it twice.
Doesn't it feel like I thought Monday at 7:30 was a good time
I'm looking this up about
to do the
pandas.
show? I feel like we've run into a Pacers home game or an IU or Purdue game almost every week that we've done the show, and I don't remember there being a lot of Monday night home Pacer games or Monday night Big Ten games. Do you feel that way? I mean, you don't pay attention to the show at all, so
I'm
you have
looking up
no
pandas.
idea. See, yeah, you're not even listening to what I'm saying right now.
Panda Express?
We have a lot of other things to get to on
Okay,
today's
hold on.
show. A loaded episode
Hold on.
74.
I put in Panda, and the first thing that comes up is
Speaking
Chinese
of the
restaurant.
Hoosiers, who are playing right now as we speak, at least if you're watching the live broadcast of this, we're obviously pre-recording it. But
The giant panda, also
it's-
known
it's
as the panda
around 8
bear,
o'clock
or simply the panda,
on Monday.
is a bear species endemic to
See,
China.
exactly what I told you. So
Oh,
Indiana is
okay.
playing right now. We'll talk about the Hoosiers
Koala.
and
Did
their
you say
fall.
koala, yay or nay?
Potentially, koala is a bear.
No, it's not a bear.
Potentially out of the tournament.
Hold on.
Also, we've got other things to get to. There's a new Carson Wentz report every day, it feels like. So I guess we'll talk about the latest on Carson Wentz as the Colts approach that March 18th roster bonus deadline.
The koala, sometimes inaccurately known as the koala bear,
Okay, so we were 50-50. You were
is
wrong
an
about the
herbivorous
panda.
marsupial native to Australia.
You were wrong about the panda. I was right about you were wrong about the panda. I was wrong about the koala.
No, the
Koala will maul your face right off, by the way.
No, they're
Another
lovely.
aggressive. Super aggressive.
No, what are you talking about?
Super
They
aggressive.
sleep. Koalas sleep, Derek. They can only eat eucalyptus leaves, which does not provide them enough caloric intake for any energy, so they sleep 23.
So they get hungry for human flesh.
No, they're stoners.
Koalas will maul
No,
the crap. They will
koalas-
rip your eye sockets.
That is so
eyeballs
inaccurate.
out of the
They
sockets.
get up long enough to eat a little bit more eucalyptus,
No.
and then they put on Hendrix and
You're
they go
wrong.
back to
You're
sleep.
thinking of sloths. Sloths do that, where they eat and then they have to sleep for like 21 hours to digest the food. That's what you're thinking
That's
of.
exactly what koalas do. They're
No.
related.
Super, super aggressive. Sloths are real cuddly. You would love a sloth.
Sloths, no, they've got like a ridge in their back, and they're
Purdue
like,
beats Rutgers, big
dry
win for
hair.
them.
They're
And
disgusting.
a huge week coming up here for Purdue as they go at Wisconsin, at Michigan State, going to decide if they're going to have a share of the Big Ten title. So we'll talk Boilers. Butler, a hard-fought loss to Providence. We may mention the Bulldogs as well. And presidential trivia, history.
John Quincy
It
Adams
is
had,
President's Day.
You know, John Quincy Adams had a pet alligator.
Okay, great.
Kept it in a
And
bathtub.
we'll limit the animal talk.
William Howard Taft got stuck in a bathtub. John Quincy Adams kept an alligator in one.
But William Howard Taft was kind of he was like kind of the Louis Anderson of presidents, right? God rest his soul. I know we just recently lost Louis, but he was a big fellow, right?
Yeah, he got stuck in the bathtub, Derek.
Yeah.
They had to
Well,
come in and-
I used the Louis
Now-
Anderson comparison because
now,
Louis
here's
Anderson
the
got
thing.
stuck in a pool.
Well, no, he didn't get stuck. He just couldn't get out.
What would you call that? If you can't get out of something, what is that called?
He wasn't physically stuck. He just
He
flailing.
required assistance to remove himself from a situation.
But he wasn't.
That is the definition of
But
stuck.
he wasn't physically stuck. Like he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
No.
Did you see him?
Now, Taft got stuck in the bathtub, and they had to grease him down to get him out of the tub because he was so fat. He was wedged.
Can we
stuck.
use the word fat? I mean,
Calvin Coolidge liked for
It's
people.
insensitive.
Calvin Coolidge liked to get scalp massages with petroleum jelly in his head. He'd have people come in while he was in bed with petroleum jelly and massage it into his scalp while he ate breakfast. Calvin Coolidge, true story. Look it up.
Yeah, I don't want to think about.
I don't
what
know if it was the
Calvin
leftover
Coolidge,
KY.
people bringing Vaseline into bed of.
Well, for Taft, it was in the bathtub.
Okay.
Just get him out. Coolidge just. Oh,
I also don't want to think about what the sound that makes of removing a person from a bathtub.
I'm just telling you. As opposed to Louis Anderson in the pool,
He was stuck. He was stuck.
he was.
It's
he
actually
was-
a good thing that we got 15 more years with Louis
He was struggling.
because we very nearly lost him on
We
that
did.
day. We did.
Yeah, that was that show Splash. He was in a diving show, and then he forgot that he not only didn't know how to dive, he didn't know how to swim.
More basketball talk when we come back.
Couple of
I haven't
minor
even
points
had a
that you
chance.
might want to actually make
I
sure you
wasn't
master.
here for the Domas trade, so I don't even get to talk about that.
Well,
We've got plenty to get to. It's Square Insurance.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Leaps a man, still on his feet. Stevens lunges. Are you kidding me? Champions of Marion County. Unbelievable. Touchdown. Living up to that last day. Wabash has the lead for the first time today. Said that was going to be a highlight reel. Oh, baby. Yeah, you can celebrate after that.
Okay, Derek, I'm in a Twitter spat. I want your opinion. Should I do a survey on this?
You're getting a lot of fights on there.
Bob Chambers, seems like a nice guy, said, Juwan Howard playing for the Fab Five is irrelevant. And I said, what's he most known for? And he wrote back, playing in the NBA. Playing in the Fab Five never would have crossed my mind.
There's not probably outside of Juwan Howard himself, and he might not even know, there's probably not a person alive that could tell you every NBA team that Juwan Howard played for.
I mean,
Juwan Howard played for like 10 NBA teams.
Yeah.
You want me to look it up?
Sure.
He had a long career. I mean, he played, 20 years basically. He was mostly a bit player. He was an all-star and an all-third team pick in 96. So, early in his career, he did okay as a Washington Bullet. Played for the Bullets/Wizards, Mavericks, Nuggets, Magic, Rockets, Mavericks again, Nuggets again, Charlotte Bobcats, Blazers, and then his final 3 seasons on a couple of those champion Heat teams.
Yeah, I mean.
And was never really, outside of, I guess you wouldn't say, I don't think Jalen Rose, the most famous thing about him necessarily would be the Fab Five because he's become a prominent analyst. Weber, people might remember as a Hall of Fame Sacramento King, even though I still think that Weber was super duper famous as the most prominent player on the Fab Five. But certainly Ray Jackson and Jimmy King and Howard, you would most say, and that's not to compare their careers because King had like a cup of coffee. Did Ray Jackson even play an NBA game?
Juwan Howard was.
I don't know if Ray Jackson played.
I don't think he did.
I mean, Howard played
Howard
for 20 years.
He was a wonderful player.
Yeah, so he had a long NBA career, but those 3 guys are most known for being Fab Five players. The only 2 guys that you would argue maybe that's not the case are Weber and Rose.
Totally agree.
Yeah, but I hope you win your Twitter argument or whatever. Let's talk about Indiana. Big game for them going on, which,
big.
Like we said, we don't know. They're at Ohio State. It was a COVID delay. A good time to catch Ohio State because this is, I think, their 4th game in 9 days. Yeah, I mean, the schedule's gotten real wonky. But Indiana, as we sit here today on Monday afternoon, has lost 4 straight. They would be in the tournament if the tournament was played today. Tournament's not played today. There's still 2 weeks left in the season.
I don't know if we can see behind you, like the banner there that says ISC Sports Network.
Yeah. This over here? The camera's not quite catching it all. There we go.
If you are Indiana, that's the bubble. I mean, they are backing up. They can feel the humidity.
They're on the right side of the bubble, but they're on it.
They are correct. I mean, they're right there, right? I think right now Lenardi, and I do think that Lenardi's bracketology is pretty dead on, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he's got him right
I think
now.
He gets fed information from people in the room.
Correct.
But yes,
well, you seem spiteful about that.
Well, I was part of the NCAA selection committee, as you know,
mock.
2013. Yes, technically it was the mock. It wasn't the actual committee, but it was everything about the committee that I was a member of.
But you had nothing to do with the selection of those teams.
No, we absolutely selected teams, and then we built our own bracket, and then we scrubbed seeds.
But you had nothing to do with the actual selection process. Who was in
Well,
there
for the
with you?
mock selection, I did. Yes, we built a mock bracket.
But had nothing to do with the actual bracket.
It was in the NCAA headquarters, just like the
Right.
NCAA does
Right.
it. So it was very, very similar to
I mean,
the
I've
actual
been
selection.
inside the U.S. Capitol building, not on that day. And that doesn't mean I was passing bills, right? Or laws.
See, you're still, and it's been almost a decade. I was kind of hoping that you would have gotten over this. For those that don't know, if you're not a longtime listener to the show, in 2013, I was invited on Valentine's Day, in fact, for 2 nights.
How'd that go over?
It did not go over well. Slept on the couch for a while. For 2 nights to be on the NCAA
Why would they
tournament
do that on
mock selection
Valentine's Day?
committee. Well, I don't think a lot of the other people were married or had significant others, but I did at that time. To do the mock selection committee, so we actually did a whole bracket. It was, like I said, mid-February, so the season was not over, and we learned about the process. Mike Babinski, who is now the athletic director at Purdue, was the selection chair.
Okay.
He was then the athletic director at Xavier or Georgia Tech. He might have been.
Georgia Tech,
He was
I think.
he
I
was
think he was at
about to
Georgia
take
Tech.
the Georgia Tech job, I think is what it was. He
I
was
remember.
still at Xavier.
I remember when he got the
about to
Purdue
take the
job.
Georgia
You said,
Tech
"Oh,
job."
you remember me from the mock selection committee?" And he's like,
Yeah, we used to text back and forth because I used to ask him, what do you think about this team RPI-wise and everything like that. But he must have changed numbers shortly after that because I did not get replies in later years. But then Mike and I, renewed our friendship when he became Purdue athletic director. I do not have his cell phone number anymore, though.
"Okay."
I have his email.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Okay.
So I sometimes email about selection of teams.
Boiler Mike at
And all of that.
Purdue.edu.
Net rating for Indiana, 44. So that's not bad
not
for a
terrible.
bubble team. Only 2 quad 1 wins.
That's
They're
it.
2-7. 3-2 against quad 2. And you look at this finishing schedule, and it's a little bit of a good and bad. Good in the sense that it's not a murderer's row. You could very easily go 3-2 at Ohio State, Maryland, at Minnesota, Rutgers at home, at Purdue. You could very easily go 3-2, right?
Give me that schedule again.
At Ohio State, which is going on right now,
Okay.
Maryland at home, at the Barn, Minnesota, Rutgers at home, at Mackey.
Problem there, Derek. There are only 2 wins there that really
That
jump
matter.
out at you as
But
big wins.
but Indiana is still, they're not on the side of the bubble where they have to get great wins.
But they can't afford bad losses, and they're
But that's what I'm saying. There is water in the boat. The boat is still floating. There are other teams that need to get the water out of the boat because they're sinking.
okay.
And I don't think Indiana is there yet. But you're right. If you, let's say hypothetically, you lose in Columbus and you lose at Mackey, they're not going to go to Purdue and win, right?
I'd be stunned.
I mean, yeah, should I say, people will come back and get mad at me if they end up winning. But if you lose to Maryland or Rutgers at home, Rutgers hurts you less than Maryland. They're not a good team. Minnesota's not a good team either. Then you put yourself in trouble where you're going to have to do something in the Big Ten tournament. And as we know with Indiana never does anything in the Big Ten
What do
tournament.
you think of my hat?
It's great. Chateau's about to start our project here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The project number 12 with you in Chateau Kitchens, right?
That's right. Can't wait
Okay.
for 13 or 14 or 15. All the projects we're going to do from now on are going to be with Chateau Kitchens.
Chateau Kitchens and Home Remodeling. By the way, Derek had mentioned him. You can find the before and after work online, right, Derek?
That's right. Or on their Instagram account, at Chateau Kitchens. Also on Facebook, at Chateau Kitchens as well. They just did
More than kitchens, right?
they could do anything on the interior of your home. Basements, whatever else. They did a nice, wet bar. I saw some before and after pictures for. And they're doing a very small bathroom, but a bathroom that we've needed to get ripped out and
Why are
done
you
for a while.
rocking back and forth like that?
I don't know. I'm excited talking
You
about
can't-
Chateau Kitchens.
I noticed your feet can't touch the floor. Your feet are dangling.
Well, after the first couple of shows, Jordan adjusted the chairs because it needed to be a little bit.
Where's your?
As some people know, I'm a little bit shorter
do
than
you have
Jake.
do you have a step?
This is
stool?
actually kind of nice, so I could just kind of kick my feet out like this.
Do you have a stool where do you climb up on that? Or is there a rope?
Well, there's a bar right here that I can step on. That's kind of my issue, though, because I have a normal size, like torso up is normal size, but I have short, stubby legs. So that's what makes me a little bit shorter.
Okay.
Yeah. Huge calves, though.
For Indiana, Derek.
ShadowKitchens.com, by the way, if you want to check them out online.
I'll be honest with you. My concern for Indiana, and this is why I think they need to go. Where do they play Rutgers?
Home.
They need to get that one because you're going to laugh when I say this. That could be for the last at-large. The way Rutgers is playing and the wins that they have.
They're in that mix, too. And I know
Rutgers just might be too little too late, right?
I know we don't do last 10 anymore, but I still think mentally when you're in that committee room, which I've been in, as I mentioned, there is something to a team playing their way in and a team playing their way out. Like, I do think as much as you're not supposed to take that into consideration, the human nature is to look at a team that peaked in November and December and weigh them less than a team that is peaking in February and March. And that's really been Indiana's whole problem the last couple of years, Jake, is that this is always the time of year that they go splat. All of Archie Miller's teams did that, and now hopefully this doesn't happen, but Mike Woodson's team appears to be doing that. And offensively, they just can't figure it out. And in today's day and age, Trace Jackson-Davis is a great player. I know we gave him kind of a hard time 2 weeks ago when we talked about him on the show. He was coming off of getting beat up by Coburn, and he hasn't done great against bigs, and he was terrific the other night against Wisconsin. But you have to have somebody that you can throw the ball to and can create their own offense. That doesn't have to have everything set up for him or get in position or whatever else. Essentially, you need a guard or a wing that can do that, which Trace Jackson is not. So you've got, Johnny Davis, Jaden Ivey. You've got all these players in this league, in the Big Ten, that you can just throw the ball to and get the hell out of the way if you need something to happen. And Indiana doesn't have that guy. Too often it's been Xavier Johnson. Xavier Johnson's a nice player, but, that's what you've got. And at the end of the game, you're settling for Trey Galloway shots.
My thing with Indiana is this, Derek. I think Mike Woodson is a good coach. I think he knows how to watch the game and maybe make adjustments. Prepare his team. I don't know how good he is in coming out of timeouts and coming up with a play, that kind of thing. But I don't know that I think he is still learning on the job in terms of how to overall run everything that goes into running a college basketball program. And I don't just say that because they had a couple of players that snuck out of the hotel and broke curfew. Just as the year goes on, maintaining and keeping your team dialed in on what you need to do and having your eyes to the point where Knight's teams, say what you want, but Bob Knight's teams typically would come on towards the end of the year and were playing their best basketball at the end of the year. Indiana's backpedaling right now. And I have seen more often than not Mike Woodson, when he is asked about something or when he is discussing an area where his team fell short, and he says, "That's on me. I got to do a better job." Well, you can only say I've got to do a better job for so long before it's like, are you going to do a better job or not?
Yeah.
And I think he gets a pass for certain, and I don't think he's a terrible coach, don't get me wrong. But you can't do that for more than, the honeymoon isn't going to last forever.
Well, the honeymoon's already over, really.
You think so?
Yeah. I think you have to, not that he's going to get fired or anything, but it's not hard to make the NCAA tournament. That's what I keep kind of going back to. It is not difficult. Yet Indiana makes it so difficult. And that's been the frustrating thing for me. Like, we talk about the bar for Indiana, and you and I mock the people that still think that the bar should be Kansas or Kentucky, North Carolina. Those days are long over for Indiana.
Right.
That hasn't been my bar in a long time. But to see this get back to where it needs to be, you have to consistently make the NCAA tournament. And Indiana hasn't consistently made the NCAA tournament since the end of the night into the beginning of the Davis era. I mean, we're talking about 20 years ago was the last time that they, Tom Crean, they won a couple of Big Tens. Whoop-de-doo. They didn't consistently make the tournament because they were going like this all the time.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be that hard, even in a down year, to make the NCAAs. And I hope that Woodson gets them to that point. But they need talent. You look at the truly great teams like Purdue. If you take Ivy away, Zach Edey could go for 18.
Correct.
Travion Williams could go for 18. Yeah. Sasha could go for 18. You take away Trace Jackson-Davis, is Tamar Bates going for 18 points?
That's Tamar Bates.
Outside of the all-time fluky game for Finney against Purdue, you're not getting that from anybody else.
What else do we have to get to?
Lots of stuff. We got to get to Wentz. Aren't you tired of talking? You have to talk about Wentz every day. I feel bad for you. Because
Really?
you got to talk Colts basically every day, even in the – that's something that I really didn't like. And I don't know, maybe I shouldn't admit that publicly because we have a lot of people that live and die the Colts that watch this show. But I hated, like, in March having to have a discussion about the Colts.
Yeah, it's tough.
You know? Because I'm like, it's the offseason. They
Doing
don't
the show
play
from
for
the
6
combine
months.
next week, Derek.
We did that once, and it was fun, though. I remember. We had, like, Janae Coakley on and Kiefer and
You're right. I forgot about that.
we had Les Bowen from who's
Forgot
now
about that.
retired from Philly to come on.
Yeah, that's right. It was fun.
Yeah.
That was different, though, because afternoon. I'm curious to see how it is in the morning.
Yeah, that you might be a little bit harder pressed to find guests.
We'll see.
And hopefully it's not just, Super Bowl Radio Row has become 30 stations, and they all cycle through the same exact guests.
Yeah, oh, yeah, of course.
And I'm just kind of like,
Here's
what's
Joe
the
Montana,
point?
brought
Yeah.
to you by Metamucil. Yeah.
Barry Sanders has some ointment, like, okay. How are you doing, Barry? Let's talk about your ointment first before we look back on your Lions career. Remember we had Justin Forsett on, and he had, like, body wipes?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And it was, in case you missed the shower, and I'm, like, cringing the whole time because I'm like, ugh, I can't go more than, like, 8 hours without showering. So I don't even like thinking about working out and then wiping yourself down.
I haven't showered since. I've just
After
been using
workout?
those every morning. I get up, quick wipe, out the door.
Well, that Super Bowl was 10 years ago, my man, so hopefully you've showered since then.
I smell wonderful.
Once or twice. I have a natural musk that is actually very appealing, but I still like to shower.
Okay.
We'll come back and talk Wentz. Plus all of our features to get to. WGU Indiana and our Sage Move of the Week. Love HVACs, love that play, and our Stewart Tire and Auto Quick Hits. When we return, it's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
College wasn't built for me.
I didn't care if I had to work a double shift.
Or if my kid had a fever.
Deadline's a deadline.
I want to set the deadlines.
I want to take tests when I'm ready.
I want to take courses on my time.
And speed up when I know my stuff.
I want a university that cares about me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the nonprofit university of you.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Still on his feet. Stevens lunges. Are you kidding me? Champions of Marion County. Unbelievable. Touchdown. Living up to that last day. Wabash has the lead for the first time today. Said that was going to be a highlight reel. Oh, baby. Yeah, you can celebrate after that.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Alongside Jay Query, I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us on this Monday, or maybe you're watching Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know, Friday. If you're Jonah in Arizona, you're watching this right now in July of 2024. Jonah, we really appreciate Jonah's support, but Jonah will comment. I get alerts when we get, and I should really shut him off because you don't need an alert for every time somebody comments on something, right? Because we get comments all the time. But Jonah,
I don't get any comments.
Jonah comments on episodes from I think he just commented on the second Titans loss. Like Carson Wentz threw a really bad interception. I was like, yeah, dude, that was Halloween. Thanks for watching the show, but my God.
Jonah's great.
Yeah, he loves to get caught up on everything. But we appreciate it if you're watching on our YouTube channel, ICSportsNetwork.com, Comcast 81, listening in podcast form, so you can't even see us right now. You can't see what I'm doing. Thank you.
Here's the thing.
Appreciate it.
You can listen to the program really on your own schedule. That's the advantage of the podcast, as Derek had mentioned. The advantage of WGU, WGU.edu/Indiana, is that you can go to school on your own time. Over 700,000 Hoosiers have college credits out there that they did not complete for their degree. So whether you are one of those and you want to go back and finish up and get that college degree that has eluded you, Maybe you're just simply wanting to fulfill a dream, or maybe it's something for work that you need that degree. WGU Indiana is there for you. Ambition never rests, and you can work on your own schedule. Derek's wife is a prime example, got her nursing completions, right? Certification?
Yeah, certifications, I think is the actual.
Through WGU. WGU.edu/Indiana. Again, ambition never rests. It is Indiana's largest online accredited university. Derek, let's go back to Carson Wentz. March 19th, I believe, is the date where the Colts have to decide.
18th, I think.
18th, yeah. So if he's on the roster,
doesn't matter. Yeah,
they owe him $22 million. They can release him outright. He would still get $15 million. The Colts would have like $7 million dead cap.
He's getting $15 million no matter what, unless he's traded.
The trade value to me, here's the challenge in trading him. The challenge in trading him is this is a player that started to deteriorate in Philadelphia. Deteriorate's the wrong word, but started to regress in Philadelphia once his original quarterback's coach, Frank Reich, had left. So Frank Reich summons him to Indianapolis, and after 1 year, the guy who's had this father-son relationship, and they read scripture together, and he awakened the greatness in Carson Wentz, and he's going to bring him back to MVP form. That guy is now putting him out for sale.
Yeah, after a year.
Isn't that buyer beware?
You would think, but there's always going to be, and Jake, you see this with the retreads of coaches, right? Somebody's always going to get another chance, and you always think, okay, we can get something out of this person. So I'm not saying that teams are going to offer 1s and 2s for Carson Wentz, but I could totally see a team going to the Colts and saying, hey, you know what? He was a league average quarterback last year. We feel like maybe he could be a little bit better than league average, above average. We'll give you a late round pick for that, but you have to eat some of that money. I could see that. I could see Carson Wentz going for I don't even want to put a tag on it. As far as a draft pick, like would he go for a 4 or 5? I don't know. I think if you're really hell-bent on getting rid of him, you take anything in a deal, right? And even eat some of the money back to just give you back that savings instead of outright releasing him, because he would certainly get signed by somebody else. Somebody else would give him a chance to come in and compete, or even hand him the job. I think what happens a lot of times, and in a way this even happened, I think, with Brissett in a way, even though I was kind of a staunchly anti-Brissett person. I think it's okay to admit that Carson Wentz wasn't good enough and it's time for the Colts to move on, while also saying that he's not terrible.
How about this, Derek?
How
about it's time to say we're ready to move on from him, except for that we completely screwed up with no foresight whatsoever, and we're stuck.
Yeah, the Colts are stuck. And they've been stuck for a couple of years now trying to figure out who's next. But you look at Wentz's 2021 season, and just overall, he was fine. Like, he was like a league average
But this team hasn't
been
built. This team is not built enough to overcome fine at quarterback.
No,
it needs elite at quarterback.
I don't want you to take it. Don't take this as me defending or taking a position that Wentz should remain the Colts quarterback.
Right.
I don't believe that. I don't think that the Colts should stick with Carson Wentz.
By the way,
all
my
I'm saying
watch.
is that people are saying,
what time is it? I just realized my watch is not.
It's 12:14 p.m. right now. All I'm saying is that.
Do you mind while I set my watch?
His trade value isn't zero. It isn't nothing. If anything, his value is lessened because other teams know that the Colts are going to try to move on from him. So they're saying to themselves, well, why am I going to give up anything if I'm going to move on? But then again, you secure him if you really want to secure him.
The challenge
but from what I've heard, there are teams that are actually at least kicking the tires. I don't know how serious that is.
The challenge I think the Colts have also, if you're Chris Ballard knows that it's a catch-22 for Chris Ballard, because he knows that Jim Irsay wants to move on from Carson Wentz, and Jim Irsay absolutely wants to move on from Carson Wentz.
Oh, I don't think that's a secret, yeah.
But if you are Chris Ballard, if you move him along, that means you are admitting your own mistake, because you were the guy that went out and got him.
Yeah.
What's today's date?
Whether that was Reich that talked you into it or not.
Date?
Yeah, it's 21st. Okay. We're actually a week away from my birthday. But it just feels like there's something.
When's your birthday?
27th. There's
That's
something
in April,
new.
Isn't it?
No. There's something
Are
new
you sure?
every week. No, it's next week, Jake. Where it's, okay, well, the latest is, was Wentz
Has it
really
always been in February?
Was Wentz really a team captain? Did his peers really vote him a captain, or did Reich come in and say he's going to be a captain?
Yeah.
I think you
I
get
don't
the captain for being a quarterback.
I don't think he is. Okay,
right?
I don't think that it's. I don't think Carson Wentz is disliked by his teammates. I don't think he's liked by them, though.
Yeah, I think there's a difference.
Carson Wentz, I'm not saying that they don't respect him, but he doesn't. It's not a natural respect.
And still, I don't know really how much that matters because they love Brissett, but Brissett couldn't play.
Right.
The Colts organization as a whole and his teammates would lay down in traffic for Jacoby Brissett, but that doesn't mean that he can be your QB1.
Right.
Because he's not good enough. But when you look at the numbers and how it all shook out, it's weird that we arrived at the same place because Brissett's season went very differently. Brissett's season was more of a gradual like this, whereas Wentz's was – I don't even know if there – was there a peak of Carson Wentz's season?
Yes, there were times when after the first couple of games – I know that he missed camp because he had the foot issue or whatever. And then after the first couple of games when his ankles – once it's –
yeah.
He had about a 3-game stretch there where I thought, okay, like this guy looks good. And then – but the bottom line is this. When it came down to it at the end of the season, and we haven't even gotten into, thank goodness, the vaccine and that, all that aside. When it came down to it and they needed to win one of 2 games against an average Raiders team at home and against a historically bad Jacksonville team on the road, he puked on himself.
Yeah. And and if not for Taylor breaking that run, it could have happened in New England.
They found him
in that game.
They found him in the locker room in the fetal position with dried vomit on his jersey. Right?
The best game that I thought Carson Wentz played this year was actually a loss. I thought the Tampa Bay game was the best game. I thought he was really good against Baltimore too. That's a game they should have won. If Blankenship isn't hurt, maybe they end up if they make a kick, they win that game. But the Tampa Bay game to me was the one.
Who's their kicker next year?
I had no idea.
Badgley or Blankenship?
Might not be either of those guys. Maybe they look at it the way Cincinnati looked at it, and you just draft somebody and hope that ends up working out.
You ready to do Love That Play next?
Yeah, well, let's do our Sage Move of the Week first.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Brought to you by WGU, by the way.
That's
WGU. Right. A new kind of you, WGU.Indiana or .edu/Indiana.
Completely off the football topic, but I've always kind of looked at this, even though it happens seemingly in the dead of winter, as one of the first signs. Like people point to Groundhog Day. The Daytona 500 to me is like the first sign, like, oh my God, things are starting to thaw out. Right? Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to spring. I thought it was a decent race for when I tuned in. Daytona always provides action and all of that, but a great win for a guy that at least the son of a guy that very well.
Yep, Austin Cindric wins the Daytona 500, his 8th Cup start. It is his, of course, inaugural running of the Daytona as a rookie of the Daytona 500. He's the second youngest winner of the event. His father, Tim Cindric, president for Penske Racing, and obviously Pike High School, Rose Holman. So, Sage Move of the Week, a Sage move for Penske Racing to groom Austin Cindric and wait until he's ready, put him in the Daytona 500, and put him in position to win that race.
And it's good that their guys aren't crashing into each other like what happened with, Keselowski and Logano a couple years ago. Was that last year?
Is that a Keystone Light he's crushing? What is that? Can you tell?
That might be we used to call those key rocks. Get a rack of key rocks. It was a 30 rack at CVS
rack
in Bloomington. A 30 rack of key rocks was $9.99. And so after tax, it was like $10.34. And I was really broke my sophomore year, but I had a credit card that my dad gave me for emergency purchases.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to go to Big Red Liquors or, one of those places to buy beer. I'll go to CVS because he'll see CVS on the credit card statement and think, okay, he's picking up whatever. And my dad goes, there was like $100 and whatever dollars to CVS this month. And I said, yeah, Dad, I needed toilet paper and deodorant and all of that. And he said, does it cost $10.34 every time that you buy it? And I was thinking to myself, how do I kind of get out of that situation? Then he realized, $9.99 plus the tax. We were buying key rocks every week. Well, he was more upset because I wasn't of age.
Right.
But I had the old Connecticut IDs. If you took one of those gel pens, you could doctor the numbers on there with a red and a white gel pen. So I just took the 3 from 83 and made it into a 1980. and was able to use it because it has a hologram. It was legitimately my Connecticut ID. So I never, ever got flagged for it, ever.
I believe that might be a capital offense.
No, it's statute of limitations or whatever else. But one day I dropped it in the rain, a rain puddle, and the gel like dissolved or whatever, and then it was FUBAR.
Cross state lines.
Yeah.
I did the same thing, University of
You're
Missouri.
making it sound like it's a RICO case. It's just a dumb kid with a fake ID.
1991, the state of Missouri, their driver's license were still paper. And I had a college friend that was like a graphic design major or whatever. And so I actually went, if you can believe this, I went and got a Missouri driver's license like I made up like a fake address in Missouri and went and got a real Missouri driver's license.
Oh, my God.
I know. Can you believe that? And then Brad doctored it, and I had a fake ID.
Wow.
That was a real driver's license.
Which people would totally buy, because, you use like a Hawaii driver's license in Indiana.
Well, I remember.
You're in Lawrence, Kansas, using
you,
a Missouri license, right?
My junior year of college, sophomore year, because we were not yet 21, somebody had a board of New Hampshire IDs, and one night we decided to all go to Broderpool, and we were in line at Old Pro's table, and literally, like, the guy's like, yeah, man, you guys all need to get out. What are the odds that 8 guys from New Hampshire are all out at one time?
Talk about, like, one of the least relevant states.
Yeah.
Anyway. I mean, there were some bars, like Kilroy Sports in Bloomington. If you had a piece of cardboard that had magic marker that said, I am 21, you were getting in there. So there were some places that were more selective than others when it came to that.
Okay.
I mean, there were a couple of people
that place is still in business.
There were a couple of people that stared me down, but
Derek, anyone who stares at you is staring you down.
Well, yeah. Well, no, not like in that sort of a way. One guy was like real like hellbent, like you're not 21 or whatever else, and I'm like, look, it's got a hologram right there, my dude. Like if you won, he's like, I'm gonna call the police. I said, call him right over.
You and Tupac?
Yeah, I thought I was tough.
Yeah.
Honestly, if a cop came over, I would have just had to run or something. I don't know.
Did you ever get in a fight in
But then they have my real ID.
Did you ever get in a fight in a Bloomington bar?
No.
You ever puke in a Bloomington bar?
No comment.
Okay.
Yeah, no comment.
Okay.
I will say that upstairs just had like a random toilet that was in the middle of the floor. Do you remember that?
No.
Do you ever go to upstairs?
Yeah.
Because that was usually our nightcap, because you get an AMF at the end of the night, and then that would put you down.
AMF.
Yeah, adios, mother.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a bunch of things. I think they just pour in like all of their wells, and then they would scrape whatever was in like the mop bucket and just pour it in there, and it was blue. And you drink it at the end of the night, and then that would be donezo after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I did blow chunks one time at upstairs. It was like one of those sprinklers where you're trying to hold it in, but it just it was rough. Yeah. No one else was in there, but it was all over the wall.
Okay.
Yeah. So it didn't get on anybody else, but it just got all over the wall. So I just left. I just left it.
Okay.
Which I probably should have attempted to clean up.
Where had you been earlier? Attempted to clean up.
Well, it was the nightcap, so it was like 2:30 in the morning, so it was late. So I was pretty tired and wanted to get back. We were walking back to Henderson Crossing because my buddy TJ had a place there, and I used to sleep on the futon that was in their kitchen.
You couldn't wait until you got outside during the walk home?
Like I said, I tried to hold it in, but all over the wall.
And you didn't even attempt to clean it after you clean up.
I remember looking around and just saying, this is hopeless. Like, feel bad for whoever's going to have to come in here after me. Yeah.
Okay. And you worked at a restaurant, so you should have had a little
I know.
bit of sympathy.
It was not a happy time in my life, I guess. Not well remembered.
Okay. Well, it was more than $10.34 now, wasn't it?
Love HVAC's Love That Play.
Sure
we'll have that to get to. Biter Bowl Bleep and our quick hits from Stewart Tire and Auto next.
All right.
It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Calling it time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is
God, there you go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That in the Wrestler!
Whoa! Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Leaps the man, still on his feet. Stevens lunges.
Are you kidding me?
Champions of Marion County.
Unbelievable!
Touchdown. Living up to that last name. Wabash has the lead for the first time today. Said that was going to be a highlight reel.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, you can celebrate after that.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lenders, who I'm sure are thrilled to be part of the human sprinkler that is Derek Schultz.
Just bad.
Why were you turning?
Well, I think I was trying to get to the sink or whatever else, and you're holding it in like that. And it just the force of it just kind of swung my neck with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
we don't have to dwell on it any longer.
Time now for Quick Hits, brought to you by Stewart Tire and Auto Service. Stewart Tire and Auto Service, folks, I've told you about this before. When it comes to, there are certain aspects of services you need where the number one thing is trust, and you want to make sure you're getting somebody who you can trust and who is being honest and has integrity with what they do, and that is Darren King, undoubtedly, when it comes to Stewart Tire and Auto Service. Derek and I both have seen the great work that Darren does, not only for those of us who are customers, but also just in being a part of the neighborhood and community. Because I've gone down there, and while they're working on my car, I see people that are coming in just to shoot the bowl, and it's almost like a barber shop.
Yeah.
Because he has that kind of relationship. That's the kind of guy that Darren is. And it's a great story because he worked at Stewart Tire and Auto Service, and then once the ownership was retiring, he pulled together his money, he and his wife, and as a family, they went ahead and bought in, and now he is the owner and proprietor. And Derek, down in Greenwood by Greenwood Park Mall, absolutely fantastic place, right?
Yeah, 100%. We take our car down there. In fact, I was just down there.
Stop 13, is that right?
Yeah, so it's technically Indianapolis. It's the very southern edge of Indianapolis, right, when you get to the county line. But we went down there last year and got new tires for Ashley's Rogue, and she always runs over like screws and nails or whatever else. So she ran over one, and I brought it down there on like a Friday. It was the only time I could make it down there, and, you know, they're busy, right? They've got a bunch of bays, but they're busy down there, and I'm like, hey, you know, we got a nail in my tire, whatever else, and I'm just going to wait on it. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, I've done some of the chains and things like that. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be here for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. One of Darren's guys comes in 10 minutes later. Yep, got you all taken care of. See ya.
It's unbelievable.
No charge, too, because I bought the tires there. So it was great. You know, you talk about honesty and being up front. I don't know anything about my car, so I know I can trust what they say at Stewart Tire and Auto.
It doesn't matter what side of town you're on. It's worth the drive down to the south side to have Darren and his crew take care of you. If you need to know more specific information, how to get a hold of them, you can always send a tweet at Jake Query, JakeQuery, or at Schultz 975.
That's right. And they have a Facebook page at Stewart Tire if you want to check that out, too.
Quick hits?
Quick hit number one. Only 22 games left for the Pacers, who are emerging from the NBA All-Star break. Just a game back of the Thunder for the fourth best lottery odds, who, ironically, they play on Friday. They already beat them in Oklahoma City, so that's a big game for ping pong balls. Unlikely, though, that they're going to do any better than that. They're 4 games behind the Rockets, 6 behind the Pistons, and 7 behind the Magic. So I think you're looking probably at a best-case scenario, unless they get really lucky, of the Pacers getting the 4th or 5th pick somewhere.
And I'll tell you what, I don't think Jaden Ivey will be around that late. If he is, you got to go with him, right?
Yeah, he won't be.
Jabari Smith, though, for Auburn.
Yeah. To me, Jake, I'm not even focused on an individual player. I know the Pacers are going to get what should be a future pillar, and that's what they need. Right. Instead of hoping Aaron Holiday someday becomes a rotational player,
here's the thing, though,
a backup point guard, we can raise the bar of expectations for a Pacers rookie.
Let's look this up. Give me a year in the last 10 years.
2015.
Okay, let's just say the Pacers, if they had been in the 2015 NBA draft. Because you think to yourself, like, oh, a top 5 pick, I mean, you're golden, right?
I think that was Turner.
If you'd had the 5th pick.
Was that the Miles Turner draft? I think it was.
Karl Anthony Towns, number 1 overall.
Yeah. I think that was the Turner draft.
D'Angelo Russell.
Porzingis?
Hold on.
Okay.
D'Angelo Russell, 2nd.
Yeah.
Jahlil Okafor, 3rd.
Oh, yeah, he busted out.
Porzingis, 4th. I'm embarrassed, Derek, on this next one.
Is it Hezonja?
Yes.
Yeah, he never really did any. Orlando, right?
Mario Hezonja.
Yeah, he never really did anything.
He started 69 games out of 330.
Yeah. Is he still in the league?
No, he was last with Portland.
He had a cup of coffee, I think, with the Knicks.
Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah, who's just a bit player.
Emmanuel
Moutier.
Yeah. Stanley Johnson. Frank Kaminsky.
Later on, you do pretty well, though. Devin Booker was in that draft.
Justice Winslow. The Pacers actually made out okay with Miles Turner.
Justice Winslow, I thought, was going to be a stud, and that's just the guy.
You know,
that whole Duke class, because that was the Duke National Championship team. Okafor, Tyus Jones, Justice Winslow.
Yeah.
Nothing ever really came of any of those guys.
You know who's out of the league?
From that draft?
Speaking of quick hits, a top 5 pick of the last 10 years. Out of the league.
Well, we just named a couple out of the last 10 years. Yeah. No, hit me with it.
With the 4th pick and the 2000, I forget the year, NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select.
Oh, Cody Zeller. Yeah.
Cody Zeller from the University of Indiana.
He just got bought out like 2 weeks ago,
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
He's hurt.
Yeah.
But, Derek, I don't know that he gets back in the league, right?
You know what? Played 8 seasons.
Oh, I know.
Got
Made
that second contract.
Yeah.
He's going to have a great life for himself.
Yeah.
Great family. He's a real laid-back dude. I don't know if he's losing sleep over that.
Totally.
If I'm him, I'm not losing sleep over it. It's funny because that draft, the 2013 draft, was supposed to be like the worst draft ever, and you ended up having Giannis out of that draft. Oladipo ended up having, I know right now, not so much, but a really nice career. Right. There's somebody else that I'm missing from the 2013
Michael Kidd
draft.
Gilchrist in that draft?
Yes, I
thought
so.
he
was number 2. So 1 was Bennett, 2 was Kidd Gilchrist, and I think
Bennett.
Actually, no, Kidd Gilchrist was the Anthony Davis draft. So who was 2? Oladipo was 2. Bennett was 1, Oladipo was 2, Zeller was 4.
Otto Porter was 3rd.
Okay, and Zeller was 4, right?
Yeah, Alex Lynn was 5th, Nerlens Noel, Ben McLemore.
It's not a good draft.
Caldwell Pope was 8th, Trey Burke 9th, C.J. McCollum 10th.
Yeah, that's the other one that I'm thinking of. There was somebody else in that draft that was good, and it was McCollum.
Giannis 15th, man.
Yeah.
Giannis went a spot after Shabazz Muhammad.
You just got to get lucky. Shabazz Muhammad at one time was the number 1 recruit in the country.
Oh, I know.
And like all world. Quick hit number 2. Team USA wrapped up an overall forgettable. Did anybody spend any time on the Winter Olympics?
Is it still going on?
No, it just ended.
Are you sure?
Yeah. They just had the closing ceremonies.
Are you sure?
I always hesitate to make a general comment because not everybody's viewing habits fall in line with mine. I can't think of something less relevant in my life than the Winter Olympics.
In years, I think when it's, and this is ridiculous to say, I realize, it's so funny to me because we have gotten so accustomed to everything being appointment viewing anyway. Like, hey, are you watching This Is Us? Oh, I've got it on the Xfinity. I watch it on Tuesday nights.
Or Euphoria or whatever else is
But
hot
with
right
sporting events, that's the one thing that I think people still want to watch live. And when it's on the other side of the planet and you're watching something, you're like, wait a minute, this happened like 12 hours ago. I've already read about it.
Yeah.
That hurts a little bit. But also I think the Winter Olympics are hurt, Derek, by the fact that you're not seeing the participants. They got on hats and gloves and masks and helmets.
I think hockey's really
who they are.
It used to be figure skating, but hockey is really the only relevant event in American sports world. Yeah, but for the novelty of it, I guess curling.
Yeah, curling is fun to watch.
And we suck at it.
I used to think like downhill skiing was cool, but now it's all like X Games kind of stuff.
We're usually finishing like 4th, 5th, or 6th anyway in medal count. So I think the fact that we kind of suck at it and the Nordic countries are kicking everybody's butt.
But have you seen the TV ratings for the Olympics?
I'm sure they're great, right?
No.
Oh, they're bad? Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
Historically low, yeah.
5th place finish in medal count. 13 of their 21 individual event medals were won by women. So congrats to the ladies for getting it done for the USA. Quick hit number 3, a serial Guinness world record breaker from Australia recaptured his former record by arranging 6 M&Ms into a vertical stack. Stacked 6 M&Ms on top of each other. 22-year-old Brendan Kelby previously stacked 4 M&Ms, impressive, in 2020, equaling the original world record. His other records include most drumstick flips in 1 minute, 98, longest duration of spinning a basketball on a pair of glasses, 29.67 seconds.
A pair of drinking glasses or eyeglasses?
Spectacles.
Okay.
Longest duration of spinning a basketball on a pair of... Oh, wait, sorry, I just read that one. Tallest tower of dice stacked on the back of the hand in 30 seconds while blindfolded. What is this?
Does this guy have a life?
Most dice stacked into a tower in 30 seconds while blindfolded, period. Not on the back of your hand, just stack them up there. So he stacked 20. And the longest duration of spinning a basketball on his nose.
How hard is it to stack dice?
9.5 seconds. Well, he did 20.
Yeah, but how hard is that? You just
stacking M&Ms is tough because they're rounded, and they're not all perfectly round.
No, M&Ms,
right?
Granted, but...
Yeah, so 6.
But I would think, can you do this? Well, I mean, if you lick the M&M, it gets a little bit sticky, right?
Oh, I thought you were, like, rolling.
The hell are you talking about?
Like, I thought when you did that, like... You were
no. I'm
saying
saying
that's what I thought that was
the M&Ms. If you're stacking the M&Ms, can you lick it and then you know what I mean?
Did you used to do that because you were like all about the whole Len Bias thing? So you never did any. I mean, I don't even really consider
stack M&Ms.
I don't even really consider marijuana a drug.
No, it did not.
Okay, yeah.
But what are you talking about with M&Ms?
No, what you just did there.
Did you already do that? Is that what's going on?
I thought
here?
you were referencing like rolling.
No,
I mean, you can roll a cigarette too. It's not all marijuana.
I'm saying if you had the M&Ms, can you lick the back of one to stack it so that it gets stickier?
No, they have a judge watch you. So the judge would be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You have to like submit videos of exactly what you're doing to the Guinness World Record people. And some poor idiot had to watch somebody stack dice blindfolded. I had to watch that video, apparently, and compare it to other videos that people have submitted. That's the end of our quick hits. I bet
Australia's
thrilled.
open, by the way. I might have to go back down. Or not back down, but...
You had that all planned out, and then COVID hit, right?
Correct.
That was like literally late March of 2020, right?
Today, Australia's borders just open again.
Cool. I would love to go if you want to take me as a +1.
I'd say that's unlikely.
Well, I know Shannon's probably want to go, but I would think I'd be second.
No, she said she won't go on a plane that long.
Okay, yeah, so let's go. You and me. Oh, Byron might be number 2, but then it'd be me.
Well, just so you know,
Dewey's out of town, right? So I'd probably be in front of Dewey anyway. Best friend list?
No,
you think?
You're pretty far down that list.
Well, yeah. Byron's, I know Byron's up there for you. He's a good guy.
But I'm flying business class. I had first class and business class on the way over, so.
I'll fly business class. I'm all business. Especially when it comes to international travel.
You don't need the extra leg room.
We did do Love That Play, right? Let's do Love That Play. Speaking of best friend list, Chris and John Love would be on there too.
I just had lunch, had patties with John Love last week.
Nice.
Yeah. Love Heating and Air, by the way. Love-HVAC.com brings you each and every week our Love That Play, our favorite play from the week or weekend. But let's talk about Love Heating and Air. Been around for over 100 years now, since 1920 in central Indiana. You're talking about a fourth-generation family business. And if you'd studied business, you would know that oftentimes family businesses start to peter out a little bit by that third generation. Not the case with Love Heating and Air because they have a commitment to customer service. They have 24-hour on-call maintenance and, of course, tremendous product and knowledge of that product. That's what you get from Love Heating and Air. Honesty and integrity as well. Great prices. Love-HVAC.com. 317-353-2141. That's 353-2141. Derek, your nominee is? This is a no-brainer.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what's your pick then? Because I didn't think of this as a no-brainer.
It's got to be Jaden Ivey's baseline dunk.
Yeah, but we just used Jaden Ivey.
Okay.
I feel like we could pick Jaden Ivey every week. That was ferocious. That was his best play on a long run of highlight plays that Jaden Ivey has had. I actually took Steph dropped a 50-burger in the All-Star game.
It's impressive.
Hit 16 threes. Look, I know defense is optional. And we could have probably taken LeBron's step back for the Elam ending to win the whole thing, and it's in Cleveland, right, the whole deal. But I just chose Steph because I feel like we kind of collectively fell out of love with Steph and then are starting to appreciate how great he is all over again, because the Warriors dynasty never really materialized the way that we thought it was going to, because there were Klay Thompson's injury.
Did they win 2 or 3?
They won 2, but they were in the finals 4 years because they lost to the Raptors and Cavs, right? So they were in it 4 straight years.
That's right.
But overall, he is undoubtedly one of the 20, and he's probably going to be higher than
Derek,
that, greatest players ever.
When they had that list at halftime, how many? It was the greatest players of all time.
Yeah.
How many? It was the greatest, what, 50 or how many?
75 for the 75th anniversary.
Okay. There were a couple on there that I'm like, really?
Like, who stuck out to you like that?
James Harden? Is he really one of the 75 best players of all time?
I hate to say it because of where we are, but James Harden has had a superior NBA career to Reggie Miller.
I don't know that I agree with that.
James Harden's peak is much, much higher. Reggie Miller was never one of the 10 best players in the league.
James Harden to me is Adrian Dantley. He's Alex English. Scores a ton of points, but what?
Yeah, but did those guys ever win MVP?
Yeah, but I mean,
look, I'm not really a James Harden. I think we were actually knocking James Harden recently on the show.
But one of the 75 best, really?
I mean, MVP, 10-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA first team, 3-time scoring champ.
But, I mean, Derek, he's played with how many franchises now?
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought you were going to mention somebody
Chris Paul?
on that. Oh, Chris Paul absolutely is one of the 75 greatest players to play. Yeah.
Let me think.
Chris Paul is probably
who were the modern?
You could argue that Chris Paul is the 3rd greatest point guard of all time, behind only Oscar and Magic.
Who were the modern players that were out? I'm trying to think. Who were the current?
Anthony
players?
Davis was on there.
Yeah, I mean, really?
Unfortunately for Anthony Davis, he's always going to be a what if, I think, because of the injuries.
I mean, I think of, and I realize you start to run out of players after a while, but I think of the list like that as like every one of them was an indisputable legend during the time they played. I don't think Anthony Davis is
you wouldn't say that about Carmelo Anthony, but Carmelo Anthony is one of the 75 greatest players ever.
Is he?
Yeah.
As a pro?
You want me to read this list, Jake? Because it's not – was Bill Walton one of the 75 greatest NBA players ever?
No.
His career window was tiny. He's on that list. Dennis Rodman? Dennis Rodman was a really good player. Is Dennis Rodman some, like, unbelievable legend?
Yeah, Dennis Rodman's pretty good.
Dennis Rodman was like a 3-time All-Star.
But Dennis Rodman was the greatest ever at one thing, indisputably.
I mean, the rest of this list is guys that are,
George Gervin's put on some weight.
Yeah. Here's some other modern era, so like 21st century guys. Steve Nash.
Okay, again.
We won 2 MVPs.
Okay, but
I mean that's really hard to do. Dirk.
Okay.
Who else would be? Chris Paul, as you mentioned.
I'll put it to you this way, Derek.
Paul Pierce.
Let me rephrase it. To me, and I know I'm being an old guy here. To me, to be one of the 75 greatest means that your teams, that you either won titles or you were a serious threat to win titles for the better part of your zenith. Was Steve Nash ever a guy that people were like, oh, man?
Well, yeah, those Phoenix teams were really good. At his peak, they were favored to win a couple of years, and they ran into the Spurs.
I mean, James Harden, like, is it ever like, oh, man, he just put a team on his back? I mean, say what you want about Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller put a team on his back and got to the
finals. Would you say that about Ray Allen? He's on this list.
I think Ray Allen, because Ray Allen hit big shots so many different places, and he also is the best ever at one thing.
Outside of maybe those Sonics teams.
I don't disagree that he's pretty underwhelming.
2000s,
I don't disagree.
He was never really the focal point of a
I don't
team.
disagree with that.
Very early in his career, maybe you'd say that. Maybe with some of those Bucks teams, you'd say that too.
What do we have next?
But I think, Jake, when you have 75, obviously there's going to be a drop-off between player 10 and player 75.
I get it.
Or player 70. I did find it interesting, and this is the only thing I'm going to say about it. The Athletic did a ranking of all the 75 players, and Kobe was 10th. And I think people,
too high.
I don't think fans realize that there are fans that believe that Kobe Bryant is the second greatest player of all time, and I just feel like that's way out of whack with Kobe Bryant's career.
I will say this, and I say this with all due respect to Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and the others who were tragically lost in that helicopter crash. I make no light of that terrible tragedy. But by human nature, I think that there is an element of truth to the fact that if Kobe Bryant was still living, his place in terms of where he ranks as an all-time great would be more easily accepted by people than it is now.
I think that's true. I think it's just the fact that Kobe's star burned a lot brighter than who he was as a player. And Kobe was an unbelievable – Kobe's one of the 10 best players ever. I do believe that. But Kobe Bryant is much closer to Larry Bird and Tim Duncan than he is to Michael Jordan and Kareem.
Correct.
But
he played for the Lakers, Derek.
Yeah, and that's part of it too.
What's next?
We've had a long show today. I feel like Jordan's getting bored back there.
Let's
probably.
wrap it up.
Let's get back with presidential trivia, and we'll wrap with Buy It or Bull Bleep.
Ooh, okay.
President's Day edition.
Now
of
you're
Q&S
talking my language.
Here on, I almost said Fox Sports 1260. God, throwback. ISC Sports Network. Nice.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
College wasn't built for me.
I didn't care if I had to work a double shift.
Or if my kid had a fever.
Deadline's a deadline.
I want to set the deadlines.
I want to take tests when I'm ready.
I want to take courses on my time.
And speed up when I know my stuff.
I want a university that cares about me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the nonprofit university of you.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is good.
There you go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That in the air. Wrestler! Wrestler!
Whoa!
Has it, leaps a man, still on his feet. Stevens lunges.
Are you kidding me?
Champions of Marion County.
Unbelievable.
Touchdown.
Living up to that last name. Wabash has the lead for the first time today. Said that was going to be a highlight reel.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, you can celebrate after that.
Back for a final time here on Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Thanks for joining us. I had a good time in Florida. Went to Rosemary Beach and got really cooked. And I don't know if we'll go back. We're trying to pick new places. I know your parents like Hilton Head every year.
Yeah.
We're trying to pick new places to go every single year.
Have you been to Hilton Head?
No.
Oh.
We actually looked into that, and it was really expensive. But, you know, Jake's back on the air. He's got full-time work again. I saw his IndyCar W-2 one time a couple of years ago, and I can only imagine that that's gone up since, and it is an obscene – I really did think that one of the first things that Mr. Penske was going to do was shut off that faucet for you. And apparently that still hasn't happened.
Okay.
So maybe a little bit of a different tax bracket. But we liked it.
No, Hilton Head is pricey. You're right.
I think one thing we would have done is I didn't realize how – it's only an 11-hour drive.
Yeah,
I would have just Ashley doesn't like to drive, but I would have easily drove that. And I think most people do. No. Well, I'm sure Hilton Head is drivable too, but like Destin and the Panhandle.
So you guys flew?
Yeah. We connected in Dallas.
What airline?
Southwest. That's all we fly. Yeah.
That's all you fly?
Yeah.
Like if you have to go somewhere and Southwest doesn't go there, you just don't go?
Yeah.
Like if you want to go to London.
Yeah, that hasn't really been in the books for us for a while. I haven't been to London since I was in 4th grade.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to go back now that I'm really old enough to enjoy it, though.
Go to Union Jack in Broderpool.
Today is President's Day, and I used to always make fun of Jake because in our radio days, he would kind of drag down the show with boring presidential trivia. But I have really gone down the presidential rabbit hole over the past year. I've read audiobooks on Lyndon Johnson, JFK, Richard Nixon's impeachment, George Bush.
He was not impeached.
I felt like I didn't know, his resignation.
Right. Before impeachment.
Andrew Johnson's impeachment.
Yep.
George Bush Sr., I feel like I didn't know anything about his tenure, and even though he was the first president that I remember, because I was a little too young for Reagan. Clinton and somebody else that I'm missing. Jimmy Carter are the ones I've read about, and it's actually, they're all very fascinating men.
Guy.
Yeah.
I think, Derek, and I didn't do all the presidential stuff necessarily because by the time most people watch this, President's Day is going to be over. But there are certain anecdotes about them and just little things about the presidents that are always fun. Now that you have grown to appreciate it, then I think perhaps you will resent the fact that despite my urgency to the contrary, you refused to go inside Lyndon Johnson's home in Texas.
Well, we had to get back for the Final Four games. They were about to tip.
We didn't have to.
We had to.
We had no reason to be there.
That's kind of how I started this whole thing. Was we went to LBJ's ranch. I mean, that whole trip in San Antonio was amazing. Jake and I became much closer after that. It kind of changed the whole friendship and trajectory of the show until we were fired. We laughed, we cried, we stayed up talking, the whole thing. But going to LBJ's
we
ranch,
stayed up because you wanted to watch Jersey Shore, and you kept saying, they're going to fight. Hang on, they're going to fight.
Yeah, it was a best-of Jersey Shore marathon. We were staying at the Howard Johnson's there in San Antonio.
That's right.
But we went to Texas Hill Country and went to LBJ's ranch, and it was fascinating. It's just such a fascinating time in America.
And I kept saying, well, let's go in the house.
President.
And we're going to go.
There was a big line. We did not have passes to go into the house.
It didn't matter, Derek. We could have blended into the back of the line. Nobody would have noticed.
I'm a rule follower, not a rule breaker, except when it comes to projectile bombs.
Unless the person in front of you's last name is Rule, in which case you didn't follow him anywhere.
Yeah, well, that is true. But that's what actually got me down the rabbit hole of.
So your favorite president is who?
I think Lyndon Johnson is my favorite president because his entire tenure, I think, would be remembered. I think he'd be remembered as one of our great presidents had Vietnam either A, not happened, or B, we had gotten out of there a lot sooner.
Right.
And he was in it and dug his feet in and I think wanted to try to find a way to save face to get out, and there was no face saving. It was a disaster.
You think he was part of –
it hurt a lot of his domestic programs.
You think he was part of Kennedy's whack job?
No. But what fascinates me about Lyndon Johnson is that he apparently was a total a-hole, like a horrible person. But he grew up poor, and he had a soft spot in his heart for disadvantaged people, not only the poor, but I think that bled into minorities, African Americans, and carrying on what he thought JFK's legacy would have been when it came to civil rights. And I think domestically he did a lot of if you look at all of the things that were passed in the Johnson administration, there were a lot of the Civil Rights Act and all of that were great.
So give me an example of him being an a-hole.
Oh, just his dealings with people and strong-arming subordinates and how he treated the people around him. He was not like a really kind man. At least from what I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an LBJ historian. But
we saw his cars and stuff, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was kind of like a good old boy Texan. And in 1968, it was probably tough to be a good old boy white Texan.
You know what's interesting
and push for some of the legislation that he did.
What's truly fascinating to me is that in the 1968 election, you had a liberal and a conservative. And the liberal was the guy from the deep part of Texas, and the conservative was the guy from Southern California.
Yeah. It's weird how that works. Yeah. But he's, to me, the most.
What do you think of my tan? I think I look good. You had gotten sunburned. My tan, I look nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
What bothers me about presidential discourse now is that we're never, ever going to be able to just objectively look at these people and talk about the good and the bad, because it's going to be all about picking sides or, my guy good, your guy bad, and there's always been an element of that, I guess, in politics. But that just kind of disappoints me that we can't have a conversation about George W. Bush and Barack Obama about the good things they did and the bad things they did without it turning into like a tit versus tat sort of thing.
There's W right there.
Yeah. You did not. You met his dad in an elevator,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Correct.
You never met W.
Correct.
Right. But you interviewed Obama.
Obama and George Herbert Walker
Never
Bush.
talked to or met a U.S. sitting or former U.S. president.
What about future?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
But I'm saying, like, you didn't talk to
Oh, no. Yeah.
Obama, like, beforehand or whatever.
No. Never. That'd be pretty cool.
Carter is one I would really like to meet.
Yeah, it seems like his legacy has aged well.
Correct. He is a far greater post-president than he was president.
Yeah, because there was kind of a lot of
It was
calamity.
I mean, I barely remember it, but it was not a great era.
No.
What's next?
Bite or Bull Bleep.
Bang the
To
anvil
wrap
here.
up. If you're new to Bite or Bull Bleep, here's what we do. I give a statement, and Jake and I go back and forth with the Bite
I
or
tell you
Bull
if it's
Bleep.
Bull Schultz.
You know what I will say before we get into it, what I don't like you doing, I noticed that Nick did this last week. He said Buy It or Bull Schultz for every single one,
Yeah.
and that's not what it's called.
It
It's
is,
called
Buy
Buy
the
It
Bull
or Bull
Schultz.
Bleep, and I think that you said Bull Schultz, so Nick is a professional media guy, so I think he wanted to be professional and try to call it. He was guest hosting on our show,
Right.
so I think he wanted to call it what he thought was the name of it. That is not
Which
the
is
name
Bite
of
or
it.
Bull Schultz, yeah.
Yeah, see, like Jordan's got it on the cryon there on the bottom.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That is not what
Perfect.
the segment is called.
No,
it is
it
called
is.
Buy It or Bull Bleep.
Well, it's okay. Say what you
Carson Wentz will be traded, not released. Buy it or Bull Bleep.
like. I'd say that is Bull Schultz.
I do. I think they're going to trade him.
If they can find a
have,
taker.
I have no idea what they're going to get. I'm assuming they'll have to eat some of his money or pay some of that money. But I think there's going to be a team out there. You know, we talk about this quarterback market being terrible for the Colts. Guess what? It's terrible for everybody. So there are some teams that are going to look at this market and say, what's our best option? And for some teams, that best option might be Teddy Bridgewater. For some teams, that might be Marcus Mariota. For
That's
some
not a
teams,
good
it might
look.
be Carson Wentz.
That's not a good Carson Wentz look right there, is it?
No, he looks like he's...
Looks like a horse.
Yeah. And that was actually, I thought, the best game that he played, that Tampa Bay game. That changed the whole game. Is that the strip sack right there? It looks like it is. It might be. Is the ball coming out?
Yes.
Or does he still have it? Yeah. I think that was the play that really kind of changed the trajectory. I guess they won the New England game after that, but it felt like it changed the trajectory of the entire Colts season. I do think that he's going to end up being traded, so I'm going to buy it. The Elam ending is a refreshing change that is fine to use sparingly. Buy it or Bull Bleep.
That's the ending that at the end of the All-Star game, for example, they, say, okay, here's, it's 24 for Kobe Bryant.
Or here's a target score. You score
Right.
24 more points or you get to 170,
Right.
and that's
I like it. I do like it.
I like it, too. For All-Star games?
Yeah, it's kind of
Like,
fun.
if you did NBA Finals Game 7, I wouldn't want an Elam ending.
No, I like
but
it.
for fun, people get mad. People just get mad about stuff. I saw people getting really angry about the Elam ending, and I thought, what's the harm? It's fun. Who cares? It's kind of like a buzzer beater happens every time because you hit the shot and the game's over. So the confetti falls from it. You know what I mean? I kind of like that aspect of it. Statement number 3. Oh, actually, what we were just mentioning. We'll never be able to talk about 21st century presidents objectively. Buy it or Bull Bleep.
Yeah, I buy it. We have rounded the corner, man. No turning back. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Part of me is kind of like, well, that's a shame. But part of me is also like, I guess it's good to be open and real about. I just think we're all human, right? So we all, it's kind of like talking about, to a much lesser extent, Carson Wentz. There were some good things that Carson Wentz did this year. Overall, it was bad. But there were some decent things that he did. You don't need to just mention all the bad stuff and not the good stuff. And I think that should be for anybody. I mean, when people talk about my legacy, it's going to be all good stuff. But for the most part, for most people, there are failings. I'm trying to think of a failing that I had. I'd like to be taller.
I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. Yeah. What about the failing of when you got popped for a little bit of the wacky tobacco in college and then gained 40 pounds because you had to eat macaroni and cheese for a while?
Yeah, that was a problem. I actually was thinking about that while we were at Rosemary Beach because we drove by Panama City, and that spring break, I didn't take my shirt off the entire spring break because I was like 192 shoveling macaroni and cheese down my gullet.
Okay.
Totally broke. Couldn't afford a $9.99 Keystone rack. Not even close. Thanks to our sponsors, Chateau Kitchens, WGU Indiana, Stewart Tire and Automotive. Also, Bailey & Wood Financial Group, our presenting sponsor of the show, and Love Heating and Cooling, love-hvac.com. Episode 75. How about that?
Mean Joe Green, baby.
Can you believe we've done 75 of or about to do 75 of these things?
Not James Harden.
Did you have a Mean Joe Green poster? You were a big Steelers guy.
My very first poster.
He was a huge star.
Yeah.
So I knew that you would be into that. Episode 75 next week. Hopefully my skin will peel off and I'll look a little bit better next time. Thanks to Alan. Thanks to Jordan behind the glass. And we will see you next time here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong camera.
Yeah, come on. Get over.